We're going to talk about a story that is, well, it's incredibly difficult, but also profoundly hopeful. It's the story of Viktor Frankl. Now, he was a respected psychiatrist, a husband, a son, but to the Nazis, he was just a number. Prisoner 119,104. This is the story of a man who was stripped of everything, his family, his freedom, almost his very future. But he held on to one thing, his sense of meaning. So let's start at the beginning of this harrowing journey, because what Frankl went through in the concentration camps, it wasn't just a story about suffering. No, it was actually the birthplace of a profound discovery about the human spirit. And it all started the moment he arrived at Auschwitz. Imagine this. The train doors slide open, and in that instant, everything it's gone. Viktor Frankl, the esteemed doctor, he just vanished. All his documents, his identity, gone. Names didn't matter anymore. He was tattooed, and he became this number, 119,104. Just one person in a sea of faces, trapped behind barbed wire. And when I say he lost everything, I mean everything. His family, his father, mother, brother, and his wife, they all died in the camps. Every single possession he had was taken. But the most brutal blow? He lost his life's work. He had a scientific manuscript, the culmination of his entire career, hidden in his coat pocket. When he tried to explain how important it was, another prisoner just screamed one word at him, "Shit." And Frankl said, in that one moment, it felt like his entire former life was just erased. Now, what's incredible is that even in this hell, Frankl the psychiatrist never really shut off. He started observing, and he noticed that every prisoner went through these three kind of predictable psychological phases. First, there was just pure shock. I mean, how could you even process that kind of horror? Then that shock gave way to this deep, deep apathy. It was like an emotional death, really, a necessary shield just to survive the day-to-day brutality. And then, for the very few who made it out, there was this third phase, liberation, a strange and difficult readjustment to a life that suddenly felt completely unreal. Okay, so remember that second phase, apathy, that emotional numbness? Well, it was right there, in the depths of that despair, that Frankl had this incredible revelation. He realized that there was one thing, just one final freedom, that the Nazis could never take from him. And this single idea, it would become the bedrock of his entire life's work. Think about it. This was a place specifically designed to strip away every last ounce of your humanity. But even there, Frankl saw these little glimmers of light. He saw men walking from hut to hut just to comfort someone. He saw people who were starving, give away their last tiny piece of bread. And he thought, these moments might be rare, but they prove something huge. They prove that even in the absolute worst situation imaginable, we still have a choice. And that leads us to this powerful quote from Frankl himself. He said, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." I mean, just let that sink in. The Nazis could control everything on the outside, the pain, the starvation, the loss, but they couldn't touch your inner world. That freedom to choose how you respond, that was yours and yours alone, untouchable. So that begs the question, right? What was fueling this inner freedom? What was the secret sauce that allowed some people to hold on to their humanity while so many others just gave up? Well, Frankl figured it out. It all came down to one single crucial thing: having a purpose, having a why. And this became his obsession. He was constantly watching his fellow prisoners, trying to answer that question. What gave some of them the strength to keep going? He saw a clear line drawn in the sand. On one side, you had the people who had a reason to live, and on the other, those who had lost all hope. And believe me, the answer to that question was literally the difference between life and death. And you know what's amazing? The why could be anything, really. For Frankl, it was that burning desire to rewrite the manuscript they had destroyed. For others, it was clinging to the memory of a loved one's face, a love that was so real, it didn't matter if that person was even still alive. And sometimes it was something as simple, as fleeting, as the beauty of a sunset seen through the barbed wire. Just a tiny moment of grace that gave them the strength to get through one more day. So you really see this stark contrast, right? The survivors were always focused on some future purpose. They found a way to make even their suffering meaningful. But the ones who gave up, they had lost any sense of a future. They truly believed there was nothing more to expect from life. And Frankl noticed this chilling little detail. When a prisoner who had been saving a hidden cigarette for months finally decided to smoke it, you knew. You knew they'd given up. They were cashing in their last tiny pleasure because they no longer believed they had a future to save it for. They had lost their why. Okay, so after the war, after Frankl was liberated, he didn't just try to forget. Instead, he took all of these incredibly profound insights learned in the worst place on Earth, and he built a whole new school of psychotherapy around them. He called it logotherapy, and its core idea is simple but revolutionary. Our main drive in life isn't pleasure, it's not power, it's our search for meaning. So what is logotherapy, exactly? Well, to put it simply, it's based on the idea that we all have this fundamental need for our lives to have a purpose. And when we don't have that, when we lack meaning, we fall into what Frankl called an existential vacuum. It's that empty, aimless feeling that can just lead to total despair. So his whole life's work became about helping people find their meaning no matter what they were going through. All right, so the big question is, how do we actually find this meaning? Well, Frankl laid out 3 main paths. The first one is through what we create, by doing a deed, by making a work of art, by building something. The second path is through what we experience, by seeing beauty in the world, or, and this is a big one, by connecting with and loving another person. And the third path, and this might be the most powerful one of all, is through the attitude we choose when we're facing suffering that we just can't escape. And all of this, it all leads up to Frankl's ultimate message. See, for him, life isn't about trying to avoid suffering. I mean, let's be real, that's impossible. It's about how we can transform that suffering into something meaningful. And he had a name for this philosophy: tragic optimism. Tragic optimism. It sounds like a contradiction, right? But it's this incredibly powerful idea that you can still believe in life's meaning, even with all its tragic parts. It's about finding the strength to say yes to life, not by pretending the pain and the loss aren't there, but by facing them head-on. It's about turning your suffering into an achievement, a testament to the human spirit. And that really brings us to the heart of everything Frankl taught us. It boils down to this one simple, yet absolutely revolutionary idea. We don't always get to choose our circumstances, but we always get to choose our reaction. As Frankl himself said, humanity is capable of inventing the gas chambers of Auschwitz, but we are also the ones who can walk into those chambers with our heads held high, with a prayer on our lips. To wrap this up, Frankl often pointed to a quote from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche that just perfectly captures his entire message. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. When you have that deep sense of purpose, that reason to keep going, you can endure almost anything. And in the end, Frankl's work flips the whole question of life on its head. We spend so much time asking, what can I expect from life? But Frankl suggests that maybe, just maybe, life is asking us a question. It's asking what it can expect from us. And the way we answer? Well, it's not with our words. It's with our actions. It's with our choices.